Month in our church is now Share the Plate Sunday. And today's offerings are all donated to a wonderful organization, God's Bathhouse. It's a mobile unit that goes around the county and allows, people to come who don't have housing, and they can, take a shower, get refreshed, and go back to the world. Thank you very much. Yeah.
They also take donations of clothing and things like that. I gave them some sleeping bags and other camping equipment I had, but they do distribute those things to people.
Oh, that's wonderful. And how could we get this to God's Bathhouse if you have a clothing donation? You do. Just, okay, so out front, in the box, I know we collect food and also, the clothing, towels, bedding. So everybody, if you're doing some post-spring cleaning, keep God's Bathhouse in mind. Our speaker today is no stranger to our pulpit. I have forgotten how many times you have come to our church. I way over 10, I'm sure it is. And in Imam Sykes's presentation, he's talking about, in an age of constant connectivity, why are so many people feeling more alone than ever? Imam Abdurrahman Sykes, psychotherapist, former prison chaplain, interfaith speaker, and community leader. He will speak on one of the greatest challenges of our time, loneliness. Drawing upon Islamic wisdom, contemporary psychology, the U.S. Surgeon General's groundbreaking research on social isolation and diverse spiritual traditions, this inspiring presentation examines humanity's deep longing for connection, meaning, and belonging. Through powerful stories from counseling rooms, prisons, communities throughout the world, participants will discover how compassion, presence, service, and spiritual connection can transform isolation into genuine human flourishing. This talk is for anyone who has ever felt unseen, disconnected, or hungry for deeper relationships, and for anyone seeking practical ways to build a more caring and connected world. Imam Sykes, we warmly welcome you back.
A little taller than she is. Just a little. Yeah, I've lost a couple too. It's what happens with age, right? Good morning. Thank you for welcoming me to your beautiful community once again. It is a privilege to be with you. Every time I stand in this sanctuary, I am reminded that one of the greatest gifts we possess as human beings is the ability to gather across our differences and search together for truth. This morning, I would like to speak about something that transcends politics, religion, race, generation, and ideology. It touches every family, every community, and at one time or another, nearly every heart. Loneliness. Not simply being alone, but feeling unseen, unheard, discounted, disconnected, forgotten. Several years ago, a man sat across from me in my counseling office. During many years, as a marriage and family therapist, I have listened to thousands of stories. Yet I have never forgotten what he said. He looked at me quietly and he said, "Imam, I have hundreds of friends on social media. In fact," he said, "my phone never stops ringing. But if I disappeared tomorrow, I don't know if anyone would notice." Those words have stayed with me not because they were unique, but because they have become increasingly common. We live in the most technologically connected generation in human history. We can communicate instantly with people around the world. Yet many people have never felt more isolated. Our devices have become smarter, at least that's what they tell us. But our relationships have become thinner. And beneath all our constant communication, many hearts are quietly asking the same question. Does anyone really know me? I suspect many people, perhaps even some of us here this morning, have asked that question at one time or another. A few years ago, the United States Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, issued a remarkable writing. In his warning, he declared loneliness a public health crisis. He observed that the health effects of chronic loneliness can rival those of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. In other words, loneliness chokes you out or chokes us out. Think about that. Loneliness doesn't simply affect our emotions. It affects our bodies, our immune system, our mental health, even our life expectancy. Perhaps the deepest wound cannot be measured by medicine. Loneliness quietly whispers to the human soul, "You do not belong. You are not one of us." As a Muslim, I believe that whisper is not the truth. And that is why I'm here this morning. Because I believe our faith traditions and our shared humanity offer a better story. A story that begins not with isolation, but with belonging. Modern research confirms something that our faith traditions have long understood. Nearly half Americans, adults, report experiencing significant loneliness. They're married, they have children, they have grandchildren, but they experience loneliness. Loneliness increases the risk of depression, anxiety, and physical illness. I remember standing in a South African township very much like this one. People possessed very little materially. They lived in shanties that are not the quality of a Sears and Roebuck metal shed. Yet they shared almost everything. They have no running water and no sewage. Meals were shared. Children in these townships move from home to home through every doorway. They belong to the whole community. I used to ride my motorcycle into townships like this, and this was at a time when they were putting tires on white people, throwing gasoline on them, and lighting them on fire. They celebrate together, they grieve together, they survive together. Watching them, I realized something that has stayed with me ever since. The deepest poverty is not always the absence of possessions. Sometimes it is the absence of belonging. Sometimes people tell me I don't feel like I belong in my mosque. I don't feel like I belong in my church. I just don't feel like I fit in. I don't feel like I'm accepted. You see, we were created from a single soul. We all came from Adam and Eve, or Adam and Hawa. The Quran begins its vision of humanity with these remarkable words. O humanity, be mindful that humanity was created from a single soul. Notice how Allah begins this verse. Not, O believers, not, O Muslims, but O humanity, all inclusive, speaking to every single one of us. From an Islamic perspective, our story does not begin with separation. It begins with unity. Before we belong to nations or races or religions, we belong to one human family, created by one creator, sharing one human dignity. That means belonging is not something we invent. It is something we recover. If that is true, why do so many people feel so alone? During 20 years of serving as a prison chaplain, I discovered something I never expected. Some incarcerated men possess remarkable inner peace, not because they were free, but because they were connected to God, connected to purpose, and connected to one another. Yet I met people outside prison walls, surrounded by every comfort imaginable, living in mansions and gated communities, carrying profound loss, profound loneliness. And that experience taught me something too. Loneliness is not about the absence of people. It is the absence of meaningful presence. The human heart longs for more than company. It longs to be known, to be seen, to be loved, to belong. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was the prophet of presence. One of the most beautiful qualities of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was the way he made people feel. When someone spoke to him, he turned fully toward them. And by the way, that was specific also to his wives. When they spoke, no matter who he was talking to, he turned to them. We need to revive that in the Muslim world. Imagine receiving that kind of attention today. No phone, no distractions, no rush, just another human being saying, "You matter." One of the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him's companions, later said, "It was though I was the most important person in the room." Imagine if every person who entered this congregation left feeling that way. There would be no vacant seats. For just a few moments, I'd like to invite you into silence. And if you feel safe, close your eyes and think of someone who may be lonely today. Someone who may be grieving, but it's invisible. Someone who quietly wonders if anyone notices them. Hold that person gently in your heart. I am remembered. You can open your eyes now. Perhaps human beings, with something as simple as letting another human being know, "I remember you. I see you. You matter." And that brings us to an important question. How do we become that kind of presence for one another? One of the strongest messages in our culture is this, particularly in our culture and our society: you do not need anyone. Be independent. Be self-made. Stand on your own. Islam offers a very different version. We are not designed for isolation. We are designed for connection. Our dependence on one another is not a weakness. It is part of the wisdom of our Creator. The deepest strength is not found in standing alone, but in walking together. The old saying, there is power in numbers. You see, belonging requires intention. It is purposeful. Author Mel Robbins, in her book, Let Them, how many have read it? Wow, that's awesome. I'm happy to see that. Mel makes a simple observation that I think many of us recognize. As children or high school students or college students, friendships happen naturally. We see each other every day. We play together. We go to school together. We might study together. We might fight together. We might play together, but we see each other every day. But then adulthood comes, and that changes everything, doesn't it? Careers, jobs, parenting, families, responsibilities. Life becomes wonderfully full. I just don't have enough time to get everything done. We become quietly busy. Friendship no longer happens automatically. It happens intentionally. If we want belonging, we must become people who intentionally create it. Let us look at some wisdom across various traditions. One of the gifts of gathering in a community like this is discovering that people of different faiths often recognize the same human truth. And someone's in the door. I don't know if they feel like, oh, good, they're making their way in. That's awesome. One of the gifts of gathering in a community like this is discovering that people of different faiths often recognize same human truths. The Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us we enter are. The Christian mystic Julian of Norwich assures us all shall be well. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be upon him, taught the believer is like a building whose parts strengthen one another. Different traditions, different languages, one shared insight. Human beings flourish in relationships. One of the most hopeful discoveries in modern research is that serving others also helps heal us. We are healed by giving to others. When we become a source of hope, our own loneliness often begins to loosen its grip. Islam has taught this for centuries. The opposite of loneliness is not simply being with people, it is becoming a blessing to people. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, do not belittle any act of kindness. Even a smile is an act of charity, he said. Fortunately, smiles remain free. They don't cost anything. And in fact, you don't have to get a facelift. If you do enough of this, your muscles will stay apparently strong and youthful. It looks like I didn't do enough of it. Even after inflation, it remains cheaper. Sometimes the smallest kindness becomes the beginning of someone's healing. And I'm sure there are people here today that remember that one moment that changed their life when they were feeling loneliness and despair. What can we do? Where did we begin? Not with grand gestures, but with faithful, ordinary acts of love. One phone call, sharing a meal, welcoming the newcomer, listening deeply, loving generously, seeing someone, really seeing them. Small acts, sacred consequences. Every act of compassion quietly tells another human being, you matter, you belong, you're important to me. I have time for you. Every one of us has the ability to become a builder of belonging. Not through extraordinary accomplishments, but through ordinary acts of compassion. One person, one conversation, one invitation. I remember when I had lived in New Smyrna Beach for 2 years and not one person had invited me into their home. And I remember feeling so lonely and wondering what was wrong with me. I do all this public speaking and I can't even be invited to a dinner. I can't even get a piece of fried chicken. But this may become an answer to someone's prayer. And it is the way that communities are transformed. These 3 words that I'm about to say have extraordinary power. I see you. Those 3 words have extraordinary power. They tell another human being, you matter to me. Your life has value. You're not invisible. Sometimes healing begins with being truly seen. Belonging begins with us. Imagine a community where no one eats alone,